Obviously, tried to hide my emotions as much as I could throughout the last 2 weeks.
We'll recap Georgia Tech and look ahead to the AAC opener versus ECU.
Plus an overtime thriller. We'll get it all in this jam-packed episode of OwlSports Update, and it starts right now. Everyone, happy October, and welcome back to another week of OwlSports Update. I'm Brian Steinmetz. Alongside me is Sean McGeehan, and we've got you covered for the next half hour with coverage on all things Temple sports.
Volleyball, soccer, field hockey, a busy week all around, including a big game for the football team with former Owls head coach Jeff Collins coming to town with his new team. We've got the recap on that coming up, but let's start by taking a look ahead as the Owls begin conference play. As much as we like to get excited about all the storylines around non-conference games, and there were plenty in September, the meat of the season starts tonight. Conference play for Temple football and the AAC. The Owls are on the road in prime time on ESPN against the ECU Pirates. The Pirates got hammered in their only conference game so far to Navy by 32 points, but the Pirates are home in this game versus Temple. And we know how the Owls did in their only road game of the season so far, and that embarrassing loss to Buffalo. Temple is hoping that this road trip to North Carolina ends very differently than the one they had up in New York.
Well, we learned that we got to come mentally prepared. You know, we come into a hostile environment, we got to come mentally prepared. So this game, we got to do better at locking in on the road. Our road focus has to improve.
Yeah, I heard they had having a blackout and stuff like that, so it should definitely be a loud game. You know, they got a really good stadium down there, really good fan base, so good team too, so it should be really fun.
They physical, they real physical, they well coached. Their offensive, like I said, their offensive line gets off the ball very well. We just got to make sure we play with good eyes and good discipline and make sure we are where we're supposed to be because they could gas us if we're not doing that.
How do you bring someone?
The Owls are double-digit favorites to win this conference road game.
Yeah, but there's several red flags out there that should have Temple fans a bit concerned. Here to talk more about this is Inside the Nest reporter Dom Gillespie. Dom, talk to us.
Thanks, guys. Yes, the Owls are coming off a very convincing win versus the Yellow Jackets, but transitioning from that emotional win against their old head coach into conference play could be tough. They're on a short week, on the road, into a blackout where ECU fans are supposed to wear all black. Temple has to be wary. This is not the team that they beat down on 49-6 last year. They're coming off a huge win against Old Dominion, which brought them up to 3 wins. That matches their entire win total from last year. ECU has a new head coach and some newfound confidence coming into this matchup. One thing I want to highlight is the Pirates quarterback, Holden Ehlers, lefty with a solid build, who actually reminds me a little bit of Temple's QB, Anthony Russo. He has a lot of good tangibles, big arm, but has trouble taking care of the football, already with 5 interceptions this season. However, I still think Ehlers could be the best QB the Owls have played to date. The secondary is going to get a real test in this one. My biggest key to the game is the Owls have to win the turnover battle. Whether that means Russo taking care of the football or the Owls defense showing out yet again, this is key for the Owls coming back to Philly at 4-1. On the offensive side of the ball, the Owls need a big game out of Russo. This isn't an ECU team that Temple can just steamroll. Going to their turf to start conference play on prime time will be a tough task. After ECU, the going will only get tougher because after the Pirates, the Owls will start a gauntlet, if you will, taking on Memphis, nationally ranked SMU, and nationally ranked UCF in consecutive weeks. Getting a win here would be huge coming back to the link. Reporting from the news desk, I'm Dom Gillespie. Sean and Brian, back to you guys.
Thanks for the look ahead, Dom. Now let's take a look back at the Owls matchup versus Georgia Tech this past weekend. This game was probably circled on the team's schedule at the start of the season, and in front of more than 31,000 fans, the Owls made sure it was a homecoming that former head coach Jeff Collins will want to forget. Speaking of Jeff Collins, there's the man himself back at Lincoln Financial Field, this time on the visitor sideline. We'll start this one off with Anthony Russo looking for his main man Isaiah Wright in the end zone, but he gets picked off. The redshirt junior quarterback doesn't seem to be himself lately. We'll have more on that coming up in just a bit. Moving on now, 3rd and 9 for the Yellow Jackets, trying to capitalize in the red zone. But Isaiah Graham-Mobley, he's having none of it. He strips Yellow Jackets quarterback Tobias Oliver, and the Owls come away with the football. Graham-Mobley is proving he earned that single digit from earlier this summer. Owls back at it at the other end. Ramon Davis takes this one for one of his 2 touchdowns on the day. Davis becomes the first Temple true freshman running back to rush for over 100 yards since his teammate Jagger Gardner did in 2015. You just saw touchdown number 1. Here's number 2. Probably the 2 easiest touchdowns Davis has had all year. Let's jump ahead to the second half. The Owls defense still balling out, this time with a little help from a lucky bounce. Senior safety Benny Walls scoops this one up 74 yards and brings it to the house after Afani Maje strips the football from Georgia Tech. Owls now up 21-0. Collins and crew will finally get on the board after stopping the Owls for a safety on their first offensive drive of the second half. That's the only action they see in this one. Backup quarterback for the Yellow Jackets, James Graham, enters the game for Georgia Tech, but he has just about as much luck as the rest of the team. He gets picked off. Temple wins this one 24-2. Those 2 points are the lowest point total allowed by Temple since it shut out Tulane in 2016.
We did exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to come out and run the ball.
It was definitely, when I saw my phone and my dad texted me and said, you got 100, it was definitely, it was exciting. But my goal is to continue to have more and more success with getting 100-yard games and our line to do what they do.
I thought we played really, really hard against I think is one of the best front sevens in all of college football. And that offensive line is really, really good as well.
Owls are now 3-1 to start the season, and the team is averaging just over 30 points per game in its 2019 campaign. But what is most impressive about the start is the defense. In its 3 home games so far this season, the Owls have only given up 2 touchdowns. That includes limiting a Maryland team that was averaging better than 70 points per game before heading to the link.
As it's done in a few games already this season, defensive coordinator Jeff Knowles' defense stepped up and stole the show in Jeff Collins' return to South Philly. OwlSports Update's Han-Wook Nam has more.
Another home game, another defensive dominating performance, and another win at the link, where the Owls are now 3-0 on the year.
It means a lot, Defense wins championships. As long as the other team don't score, we always have an opportunity to win.
It was this end zone that the Yellow Jackets were never able to reach in this game. After losing 38 points 2 weeks ago, the Owls defense went back to work against the team from capital of Georgia.
Obviously, we are ecstatic with the outcome of the game. When your defense goes and pitches a shutout, you don't need to say any more than that. They pitched a shutout.
Temple's defense didn't allow the Yellow Jackets any points, with the only 2 points in the game coming off a safety. With the exception of game against Buffalo, Temple's defense has been stellar with no signs of slowing down.
Oh, our defense, continues to do what they do. They execute their job. And once I kind of see a lot of Georgia Tech kind of go 3-0, I was like, all right, our defense is really stepping up and doing what they're doing. And then
This was Jeff Collins' first trip back to the link since he left as Temple's head coach, and he saw firsthand some of the talent he left behind. From Lincoln Financial Field, this is Han-Wook Nam, OwlSports Update.
Some national recognition for the Owls as ESPN's Kirk Herbstreit recognized defensive coordinator Jeff Knowles on his top 10 Coaches of the Week list. Quincy Roche will no longer need the 0 on his jersey as he was awarded Temple's last single-digit number 9. And Benny Walls was named AAC Defensive Player of the Week with his interception return for a touchdown.
We expect the defense to play tough tonight, but the same can't be said for the offense. That's been just as inconsistent through 4 games. And it starts with their quarterback, Anthony Russo. Through the first 2 games of the season, he looked elite. He had a stellar game against Bucknell, and he shined against then nationally ranked Maryland.
Yeah, but after rough outings against Buffalo and now Georgia Tech, it's hard to know what to expect.
Through the first 2 games of the season, Russo threw for nearly 700 yards with 7 touchdowns. And oh, by the way, he was completing 66% of his passes. But what's most important is he only had 2 interceptions. The past 2 games, however, that's a completely different story.
A completely different story with a completely different stat line. More interceptions than touchdowns and only around 46% of his passes completed. He must have switched up his morning routine on game day because something just has changed for him.
Here's the important question. How will he handle the road game on prime time against ECU?
I'll tell you what, I expect Russo to be able to recover. I mean, he doesn't want to put up these bad numbers, especially with conference play starting. He'll be able to flip the switch and put up elite stats like we've seen him do over the past year or so.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Brian. Russo's proven he isn't scared of the spotlight during his time with the Cherry and White, and I think he'll be able to recover it just fine, and I expect a big game for him against ECU. Unfortunately, though, it's time for us to take our first break of the day, but there's still plenty to get to in this one, including a story about how Temple Athletics is dealing with mental health and well-being of its student athletes.
We really fought, and we needed this win as a team to bring back up our confidence heading into conference.
A thriller from outside the box for the women's soccer team.
I'm Giovanni Brown at Howard Field, where Temple Lacrosse is using the fall season as a building block for the spring. OwlSports Update will be right back.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. 2 days after being swept by USF, it didn't get any better against defending conference champions UCF, looking to finally get their first win in over a 10-day span. The Owls fall heavy once again. Temple showed some resilience, but it wasn't enough to even win a set. In fact, the Owls haven't won a set in their last 3 matches. This extends Temple's losing streak to 4 matches after starting the year with 9 straight wins. At 9-4, the Owls are home for their next 4 matches and try to quickly turn this thing around. Well, shifting gears now from the hardwood to the turf, where women's soccer began its conference play.
The women sat at 2-4-3 before taking on Cincinnati and ECU, and we're looking to get back to 500. Let's take a closer look at how it all went down. First up at the Temple Sports Complex is Cincinnati. No goals scored by either team in the first half of this one, but the Bearcats clawed their way to a W in the final 45 minutes by scoring 2 goals in the second half, one from Cameron Hartman in the 58th minute, and the second from Sophie Gorman just 2 minutes later. Cincinnati shuts out Temple in this one and wins it by a score of 2-0. On to the weekend now, a Sunday afternoon showdown against East Carolina. This time the Owls find the win they're looking for. And get this, it comes from a golden goal off the boot of sophomore Gabby Johnson. It's the 3rd golden goal of her career, and it's good enough to give the Owls the win in this one by a score of 1-0. The team is now 3-5-3 overall this season with a 1-1 conference record.
I thought we really battled hard the whole 96 minutes, I guess it was. We really fought, and we needed this win as a team to bring back up our confidence heading into conference. So it's very exciting, and I'm happy we got the W.
It feels amazing for me, especially, but for the team, we definitely needed the win. So I'm glad that we could do that to get our confidence back for our conference games coming up.
Talking men's soccer now. Taking on Old Dominion, and there was not much action in this one at all. Only 14 combined shots all game long, but what really mattered was Leandros Lillis finding the back of the net in the 89th minute to win this one for Temple, a huge momentum booster for this squad that had a rough start to the season. Prior to their match versus Old Dominion, the men had a tough match last week going up against nationally ranked UCF. The team stayed resilient throughout the game, but it wasn't enough to overcome UCF's rugged second half's defense. The Knights didn't allow a single shot on net for the final 45 minutes. Temple loses this one by a score of 2-0.
With the constant stress of being a student athlete, being a Division I student athlete is even more stressful. Temple Athletics looks to give its athletes a helping hand.
Temple University Athletics has been recently adding new developments to their psychology department. With the support of Dr. Stephanie Coakley, Temple introduced the app Headspace for its student athletes in efforts to combat mental health issues.
Temple Athletics as a whole is kind of they're not just saying that mental health is a priority, they're really making it the forefront. So I think that was really exciting, and I have been working with the app a little bit, and I know it's been taken very well from student athletes across the board.
Through the help of sports psychologist Dr. Stephanie Coakley and the app Headspace, Temple student athletes can begin to have more tools to help manage their busy workdays.
That's been something that we've been working on with the support of Dr. Kraft giving us a sports psychologist to work with us. So it's been great for us to be able to talk to someone about it and about how to manage all that stuff. So even though it's something that a lot of colleges forget about, we're lucky at Temple that he has invested money in the sports psychology part.
Temple University Athletics is at the forefront of improving student mental health across the board. Schools across the nation will soon adopt the same policies as Temple. With the help of the new app Headspace, Temple student athletes can already begin to see those aforementioned benefits. Reporting from the Temple Sports Complex, I'm Eric Coombs, OwlSports Update.
With Temple's massive strides in mental health, they're paving a way for a new path for college programs across the country to follow suit.
Unfortunately, it's time for us to take another timeout, but be sure to stick with us. Coming up, we recap field hockey's busy weekend.
Sports Updates, Lindsay Moppert. I will tell you all about two sisters who are breaking it down for Temple Spirit Squads. OwlSports Update will be right back.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. Let's talk some field hockey. 2 games in 3 days for the team over the weekend. Let's start with its Friday matchup versus Providence. It was a defensive showcase, but the Owls took the L 1-0. An early second quarter goal sealed the deal for the Friars. And there was hardly any defense from Temple in this one, with just 2 shots on goal for the entire game. On to game number 2, this one versus Philly rival Penn. Despite taking an early lead in this one, the Owls lose their second game of the weekend. 2 second-half goals from the Quakers was enough to earn the win, 2-1. Temple is now 4-4 on the season and 0-2 in conference.
Well, the lacrosse team announced its fall schedule, where they take part in a tournament each weekend until the end of October. In the first tournament this past weekend, they went 1-1 against Towson and Johns Hopkins, the team using the fall season to build the chemistry in preparation for what's ahead in the spring. The Owls faced their next opponents on Saturday in the Lehigh tournament against Marist and Lehigh. With nearly half the returning squad being seniors, the team is refining its skills and building chemistry in hopes of making improvements to last season's record.
As the fall preseason is underway for the Temple lacrosse team, they're coming together with a fresh perspective and some fresh faces ready to get back on the field.
I honestly think that we're very, very excited, kind of just overall we're all really just excited to be with each other, but also have a good chemistry with each other, and also the energy is awesome.
This year's team has a nice mix that is allowing for that energy. There's enthusiasm from the 7 freshmen added to the experience coming from the 10 seniors.
I think being a senior and just having such a strong senior class too, to have whole new perspectives of taking the incomings on and just really taking them under our wings. They're all coming in with great attitudes and their great style of play. So it's a really easy task, and they just have been setting the bar for us too. So it's not just us leading them.
The Owls had a subpar 2019 season, finishing with a 6-11 record.
With new players on the team and looking to improve on the team's chemistry, the women's lacrosse team seeks to improve upon their record from last season.
So one of the things that this fall is about for sure is improving on the skills. There are different things that follow and carry over into the spring. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. One of the things it does for sure is stick skills. So what we are working on a ton is their creativity. What we're really hoping is that by working on them now, they will carry over and they can help us out come game times in the spring.
Yeah, just as I mentioned, the lacrosse team finished with a 1-1 record at the Towson tournament. And in Maryland over the weekend, the Lehigh tournament is up next this Saturday in Bethlehem as the Owls make their way through their fall schedule.
That's going to do it. We're going to need another timeout, the final one of the day, but don't go anywhere. Our final block is sure to be a hole-in-one. OwlSports Update will be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to Studio 3. I'm not sure if it's a case of sibling rivalry, but there's a couple of Owls making a name for themselves as dancers on campus. But the family tree reaches well off campus. OwlSports Update's Lindsay Moppert is standing by at the Plasma to explain. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey guys, it is already unusual to have 4 sisters all in one family. But how about all in one sport and all staying local? The 4 Murtha sisters are dancers and 2 have found themselves closer than expected, cheering on the Cherry and White. Temple University loves to emphasize its family appeal. And there's one family in particular that shares more than just its school spirit.
When I started dancing, I was 4 years old, and the reason I started is because my older sister Jackie was a dancer, and so my parents just were like, do you want to try it? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll go into the class.
I started dancing when I was in kindergarten to junior year of high school.
Claudia Murtha is a senior captain of the Diamond Gems dance team. And her sister Noelle is a sophomore transfer cheerleader, and the dancing genes run even deeper.
My younger sister, who's 16, is a dancer too. Her name's Val. She's danced all her life too. She actually goes to an arts high school and is on a competitive dance team. And my older sister, Jackie, she's 23. She's a Sixers dancer, and she's also the technique coach for the Diamond Gems at Temple.
Claudia and Noelle were uncertain about even being involved with college dance and cheer. However, that all changed once they decided on the Cherry and White.
I didn't even know about college dance team until it was about 2 weeks before the dance auditions my senior year of high school. I tried out, and here we are 4 years later.
I didn't start cheer until senior year, so I wasn't expecting to ever cheer on a sideline at all, let alone with her. And it's really cool that we get to do that.
And for this sister duo, Saturdays at the link are now spent together. Claudia and Noelle are exemplifying Temple's emphasis on their family appeal. As a transfer from a small school, Noelle is quickly learning Temple's traditions from none other than her big sister. Reporting from Plasma, I'm Lindsay Moppert. Brian and Sean, back to you.
All right, Lindsay, thank you. On Monday at the Firestone Invitational, one Temple golfer accomplished something that hadn't happened in 4 years. On the 17th tee, junior Dawson Anders shot the first hole-in-one for the Owls since 2015, when his shot landed directly in the hole after ripping through the lip. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the hole actually looks a bit like a Temple tee. Anders finished the round 5 under 67.
It's time for our Twitter poll of the week. We want to know what you think is more impressive, that hole-in-one that Brian just talked about, or the Temple football team holding Georgia Tech to just 2 points all game. The choice is clear to me. I'm going with the hole-in-one, but hey, it's not up to me. You can vote by searching for our Twitter at OwlSports Update and give us a follow while you're at it for all the best Temple sports coverage you can find anywhere north of Cecil B. Moore.
And what, maybe south of Diamond Street? That'll just about do it for this episode of OwlSports Update. Be sure to tune in to Inside the Nest next Tuesday with Brooklyn Vaughn and Dan Wilson for all Temple football coverage.
And tune in on Thursday when Adam Cronally and JJ Michalski take the desk for another episode of OwlSports Update. For Brian Steinmetz, I'm Sean McGeehan. Have a great weekend, everyone.